Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie McGrath, editor of ForbesWomen. There is a $100 million plan to restore abortion rights in the United States. And here to explain that plan is Kimberly Inez McGuire. She is the executive director for URGE, Unite for Reproductive and Gender Equity. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about abortion access.
So, what is this $100 million campaign? Where did the money come from?
Yeah, so this campaign, Abortion Access Now, is being supported by 9 executive committee organizations, half of which are reproductive justice organizations, and the majority of which are led by women of color. So every single one of these organizations has been raising funds. We are also raising funds as a collective. And the goal is to put those resources towards a massive effort to restore abortion access with a specific focus on federal policy. What we have seen in the last 2 years, the chaos created by Dobbs, we are going state by state with abortion bans, with Supreme Court cases that are forcing us to consider how many organs have to fail in a woman's body before she can get emergency care. I mean, there's confusion. People are traveling thousands of miles. It's unacceptable. The only way to restore some degree of access to this country is to have a federal law that makes abortion legal and accessible everywhere.
So this $100 million, are you breaking it down state by state? So campaigners in Texas will get some, campaigners in Alabama will get some, or is it all going towards lobbying the federal government?
So those resources are going to be invested by all of the participating organizations in a variety of ways. So, for example, URGE, we are one of the executive committee organizations. Our part of the work includes both the collective work, lobbying, talking to folks on Capitol Hill, building the political will for a broad abortion access agenda. That also includes the work that we are doing in places like Alabama and Georgia and Kansas and Ohio to protect and maintain abortion access wherever we have it and to stop abortion bans wherever we can.
So you have referenced the last 2 years. Obviously, this past week, we marked the second anniversary of the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe v. Wade. You have been working for the last 2 years to help people in states with abortion bans. How does this campaign differ from the work that you have already been doing?
Yeah, so when I think about what has happened since Dobbs, right? And folks all over this country have been working so hard to fill the massive gaps and really the crisis that was created, right? I mean, the incredible work done by abortion funds all over this country, getting people to their abortions, often, traveling hundreds or thousands of miles. The work that clinics have done in states where abortion isn't banned in bringing folks into their state to get care. And then there's been the ballot initiatives, right? And URGE is really proud to have co-led 2 of the 7 winning ballot initiatives for abortion access. So much of what we've all been doing across the country for 2 years has been addressing the crisis, getting people their abortions, keeping abortion on the table in as many states as we can, because we think about states like Ohio that are an access point for the Midwest. We think about states like Florida that are, we want to keep as an access point for the South, right? All of that's hugely important. Here's what's different. We are now looking at the possibility, right, that after this election, there might be a trifecta that is supportive of abortion rights. If that happens, it will only be because of the issue of abortion. The issue of abortion is what is motivating people all over this country. And if that happens, those elected officials need to know exactly what it means to deliver on abortion access and to stop the crisis. And so what this campaign is doing that is different is folks are already mad. They don't need our help to get mad, right? But what we're doing is to try to galvanize that anger into a clear demand for federal policy. This cannot be a state-by-state issue. We need a federal law that makes abortion legal and accessible everywhere.
You mentioned the abortion ballot initiatives, and I want to spend some time talking about that because a number of different states could potentially see their citizens voting on abortion access in November. But the process of getting that ballot initiative all the way through in front of voters is a little complicated. There are petitions and there are signatures and there's court certification. Can you break down where do we stand with these initiatives at this point in 2024?
Yeah, so it is incredibly complicated. And I'll say, even more than complicated, oftentimes getting a ballot initiative on a progressive issue in a state with a conservative government is actually a hostile process. I mean, when we were going through this at Ohio, it wasn't enough to just collect the signatures and get all the forms in on time. We actually had every state government agency actively opposing us, trying to fight us, trying to take us down every step of the way. So I have so much love and respect for my comrades in places like Florida, where they are, they have been building support all over the country. They've been gathering signatures. They've been, going through the whole process. They have an incredibly huge body of work to do to get this across the finish line. But what inspires me is the folks in all over the country, right? Folks in Colorado, folks in Arizona, folks in Florida, right? I mean, there's multiple states where we may or may not see it make it all the way to the finish line. But I think at the end of the day, what's important here is that voters are realizing that they have power, right? They have the ability to actually say, I want abortion to be legal. And where maybe, a state legislature has failed because they've enacted a ban that goes against the will of the people in that state, that the people have a chance to respond. And in every time over the past 2 years that we have taken abortion to the ballot, we have won. And so I am wishing all of the success to our colleagues around the country. And the track record is really clear. Voters are angry about abortion bans, and they are outraged that their state governments are enacting these wild conservative policies, or in some case, resurrecting them from, over 100 years ago, in a way that's totally contrary to what majorities of people in every single state in this country believe.
It has been remarkable to see the voter turnout for the ballot initiatives that have happened thus far. It really is, as you said, a galvanizing issue. So at this point in time, how many states will definitely have a ballot measure that people can vote on in November?
Well, I will not give a specific number on that, only because it is so dynamic and it can literally change day to day. Having been in that, I wouldn't want someone else counting my work out too prematurely. So I will wait for the announcements of success from each of those campaigns, because I think that folks have they have a lot going for them. I mean, there's a lot of hurdles, but there's a lot of support from the public. So I'm not counting anybody out just yet.
Okay, you're not counting anyone out. Is there a call to action you have for folks in states where they're either confused about if they will have an abortion measure to vote on, or if they want to be able to have their say in November?
Absolutely. So I think really important, the two things I think people should do is, one, get in touch with local abortion supporting organizations in your state, whether that's an abortion fund, an abortion clinic, a reproductive justice organization. Get on their mailing list, because if there is a ballot initiative, they're going to tell you all about it. The second thing I'll say is, regardless of whether you have a ballot initiative or not, every single person in this country has the power to vote. And there are all sorts of races that have all sorts of power over our reproductive freedom. Folks, for example, may not know that many state Supreme Courts are elected, and those state Supreme Courts are currently interpreting the law to decide whether and how abortion restrictions are being enacted. So everyone should be really clear about their options when voting, and recognize that there's all sorts of offices. You may not think have anything to do with issues of reproductive health rights and justice, but in fact, they actually do.
You mentioned state Supreme Courts. I want to shift briefly to the federal Supreme Court, which just yesterday dismissed the Idaho emergency abortion case, which is quite complicated in its specifics, but effectively is allowing for now women to receive abortions in Idaho in an emergency circumstance. What is your take, Kimberly, on the court's decision here?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not handing out any gold stars to the Supreme Court on abortion access anytime soon. I think in many ways, this case is similar to the mifepristone case that came out earlier this summer, which is a very bad thing is being averted, but other very bad things may follow, right? So yes, it is true that for now, people in Idaho who are pregnant and experiencing an emergency will be able to get emergency care. That's incredibly important. As someone who myself experienced emergency complications with my own pregnancy, I know how scary it is to go through that. And I can't imagine being told I couldn't get life-saving care because of a stupid law, right? And there's a Texas case that is also considering this question, right? So this Supreme Court has already shown that they were willing to make abortion illegal in half of the country. I do not trust them with reproductive health rights and justice. I'm glad for people in Idaho. I'm worried for people in Texas. This fight is not over. As with the mifepristone case, where they dismissed the standing for that very specific case, that came with basically an instruction manual for how the conservative justices could, the next time around, take away abortion pills. So like I said, no gold stars for this Supreme Court. I want real, durable abortion access for everyone in every state.
A reproductive health lawyer told us relatively the same thing with the mifepristone dismissal, that it was dismissed, which was fine for now, but the right. breadcrumbs, how would you rate your concern right now based on the breadcrumbs we've received from the Supreme Court, that instruction manual that you referenced, or the fact that there's this case in Texas similar to the one in Idaho? 1 to 10.
On a scale of worry, I would say I'm a 9.5. I mean, there are justices on this court that have stood up for reproductive health rights and justice. Unfortunately, they are in the minority. And there are a lot of justices who seem giddy to take us back to, 60 years ago on issues of gender justice, on issues of reproductive health. And even when the cases presented before them are so poorly put together by abortion opponents, some of these conservative justices clearly are looking to be co-conspirators with those who want to ban abortion. So I think we'll see more challenges to mifepristone. We expect we'll likely see another challenge to EMTALA. And all of this underscores, again, this is not sustainable. This is not tenable. People should not have to be watching the news every single day to figure out, am I going to die in an emergency room parking lot today or not? Are my pills going to come in the mail, or am I going to have to travel 500 miles to get an abortion? It is outrageous that individual humans experiencing very real health concerns are having to refresh their computers to see what the Supreme Court said that day, to see if they're considered, a full citizen and human being in this country.
As we wind down this conversation, I want to circle back to where we started, which is this $100 million campaign, which you unveiled this week. What has been the early reaction to the campaign? Is the number of dollars increasing already? Have you seen more financial support as you've come out with this?
The most exciting thing for me is that we have seen so many organizations that want to be a part of it. We started with 9 organizations on the executive committee. We quickly grew our steering committee to over 25. There are folks all over this country from a wide range of entry points to this movement who want to be a part of this. That includes young people, Black women, Latinas, API folks. That includes providers. That includes folks who have seen from all different angles how harmful abortion bans are. So I expect we're going to continue to grow and continue to build a mass movement to demand an end to abortion bans.
We've covered a lot of ground, from this $100 million campaign to abortion ballot initiatives to recent Supreme Court decisions. But is there anything else, Kimberly, that is on your radar right now when it comes to reproductive health access and equity that you wish to share with the Forbes audience?
I think we need to keep in mind that the conservative agenda includes but goes so far beyond abortion bans. They have started to show their cards in things like Project 2025, which clearly articulates an agenda that is anti-abortion, anti-contraception, anti-IVF. They do not want us to be able to plan and build our families on our own terms. So whether abortion is a motivating issue for you, whether it's contraception, whether it's fertility treatment, the other side's agenda is clear. They want to stop us from controlling our lives, our bodies, our families, and we, on the side of reproductive justice, plan to stop them.
Kimberly Inez McGuire, thank you so much for joining us and explaining this all. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Maggie. I appreciate it.